Good morning, boys and girls, and welcome to another episode of Pep's Corner. Today, we will begin a new book titled Animal Cells. It is an informational text. We will read pages 4 through 7. Our focus and purpose for reading is posted on the screen. So go ahead, make sure you have your book in hand and are actively following along and reading. Remember, boys and girls, to reread a second time. Let's begin. Page 4. What is a cell? To cut your finger and a single drop of blood falls. You have just lost millions of cells. Cells are the basic units of all living things, from a blue whale down to a one-celled protozoa. Animals are made up of individual microscopic cells. Everything comes down to the basic unit of life, the cell. Like all other living things, we are nothing more than a bunch of cells. It is how cells are arranged and what those cells do that make us the difference between different plants and animals. What do cells do? In every animal, old cells die and new cells form. Animal bodies are constantly at work. They replace worn out cells. They make new cells, and every cell has a specific job. Cell work is responsible for all the life processes that keep animals alive and healthy. How many cells? As animals grow, the number of cells in their bodies increases. The total number of cells in an animal is tremendous, more than anyone could count. Scientists estimate that adult humans have between 50 trillion and 100 trillion cells. A trillion is a million. An adult has many more cells than a small child. Scientist spotlight. Robert Hooke, 1635 to 1703, was one of England's greatest scientists. His natural curiosity led him to study everything from plants to rocks to stars to geology. He even studied the workings of mechanical toys and ships. His best-known contribution may have been his book, Micrographia, in 1665. In this book, Hooke drew accurate illustrations of organisms or living things that he saw through a microscope. Hooke described his view of thin slices of cork in Micrographia. The pores of it were regular. These pores or cells were indeed the first microscopical pores I have ever seen. Hooke had discovered plant cells, and we have called these units cells since then. Robert Hooke was the first scientist to use the word cell to mean the basic unit of life. His book, Micrographia, features this close-up image of a dragonfly. What basic concepts explain cells? Scientists who study cells know 3 truths about animals and plants. These facts make up a theory or idea about cells. 1, every living thing is made up of 1 or more cells. 2, the cell is the smallest unit of life. 3, all life can be traced to the growth and division of cells. It is difficult to think that you have much in common with a dandelion or a pine tree, but you do. Looking at human and plant cells show us that we are not that different from plants. We have skin cells that form an outer layer around our bodies. Plants also have cells that form protective skin. Human and plant cells use food for energy, and they also produce waste in order to grow. Our cells reproduce, make a copy, to carry on a species, group of living things of the same type. Plants and animals create offspring. Science tools and the compound microscope. In 1590, Dutch eyeglass maker Hans Janssen and his son Zacharias put together 2 magnifying lenses in a tube. They made the first compound microscope. This simple tool opened up the microscopic world to science. Today's microscopes work like the Janssen's microscope, but are much more powerful. They have an upper lens at the eyepiece and the lenses below. The total magnification equals the power of the eyepiece lens 10 times, or 10x, multiplied by the power of the lower lens, which can be, for example, 4 times or 10 times or 40 times or 100 times. For example, using the 100 times lower lens and the 10